Yeah, so I went to law school here and I graduated in 2004, took the bar in 2005 and went into private practice with one of the big firms here, Snell and Wilmer, and lateraled over as a third-year attorney to another big firm, Ballard Spahr. And I stayed in private practice for about 10 years, but I got the opportunity to go in-house as the general counsel for a financial services company here in Las Vegas, Provident Trust Group. So I went there, I was there for 2.5 years, and then in July of 2017 is when we opened the firm.
Actually you're not originally from Las Vegas yet?
No, I grew up here, but I was born in New York.
Okay.
So my family actually immigrated, both sides. My mom's family and my dad's family immigrated from South America, Guyana.
Was that always kind of the plan, was to go into law school? What made you motivated to go into that field and kind of pursue that?
Yeah, so my dad, when he was working, he was in the airline business, and that's what brought us out to Las Vegas. He got a job as a CFO with a Grand Canyon tour company. Oh, yeah. So the airline that he worked for, he worked there maybe, I don't know, a few years, and then he decided that he was going to open his own airline. And so he left, he was the breadwinner for our family, and he left his job, he started his own airline, he got financing, purchased airplanes, hired an attorney to make sure he was doing everything correctly, and the attorney, with the help of some other third parties, actually took advantage of him, took control of the company away, so completely pushed my dad out. I was young when this happened, so he ended up filing a lawsuit, a malpractice lawsuit against this attorney and the firm. And that started when I was in middle school, and we didn't get a final decision on that lawsuit, on that case, until I was a sophomore in college.
Oh, so it dragged it out.
It dragged out. It went all the way up to the Nevada Supreme Court. Ultimately, we lost the case on a technicality. It was a statute of limitations issue.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, growing up in that type of environment where I was seeing my dad, you know, the struggle that he had as an entrepreneur, and then also the legal struggles that he had. Of course, he was like, you gotta go to law school so that this never happens to you. And for me, I wanted to make sure that I was able to help people. You know, I saw what my dad went through, how devastating it was for him and for our family. You know, I witnessed that firsthand. I experienced that loss firsthand. So I wanted to make sure that would never happen to me or anyone that I loved. You know, how we were talking about what made you decide to go off and start your own firm. Yeah. That really wasn't what I wanted to do going into law school. I wanted to go be an attorney so that I could get a good job, a stable income, be able to represent clients and be a lawyer that way, and, you know, work my way up in the law firm setting.
What kind of law is it that you specifically practice?
Our main practice area is estate planning.
Okay.
So estate planning is really a comprehensive plan that addresses all types of contingencies, from your disability to your incapacity to your death, you know, and what happens to your kids. You know, if you have minor children, we were talking earlier, you have two young sons. And so, like, if something happens to you and your wife, like, who would step in and raise them? Or even in the short term, who would care for them, you know, in that interim period of trying to figure things out? And one of the things that I realized years ago when my kids were much younger was, even though I'm an attorney and I had planning in place, my planning was flawed. It was incomplete because of how traditionally estate planning is done, where these holes are often left open and you don't realize it because you just don't know any better. But I'll just give you an example. So with the kids protection planning that we do, the reason why I do it is because many times in estate planning, even if you have named a legal guardian for your children,
that's a lot of people do,
right? Sure, it doesn't go into effect unless you're dead, right? So what if you're just in an accident, but you can't care for them? You know, you're in a coma, you're incapacitated or something like that, and your kids are home with a family member or a babysitter or something like that. The cops would show up to the house and they would see that your kids were there with someone who isn't an actual legal guardian, and they would be taken out of the home into Child Protective Services.
Even with having, because you have to have the paperwork.
You have to have the paperwork, and it has to be comprehensive. So even with
that's scary, man.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's why it's really important.
How do you know that? You just said it
right. Most people don't. Yeah, most people don't, because we take a lot of that for granted. Like, okay, well, I've got a will and it says that if something happens to me, you know, my sister and her husband will step in as the legal guardians, and that's fine, that can work potentially, but what about the short term? You know, what about those immediate minutes and hours or maybe even days until your legal guardian can, you know,
that's why I'm happy we're having you on your show.
Right?
That's good.
Now you're like, oh, I need to do my planning.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, literally, it scared me for a second.
So yeah, just going back to your original question, Chris, is I do focus on estate planning, but we do comprehensive planning. So it's kids protection planning, also for people that may not have kids, but you've got pets, right?
Sure.
And if your pets are your world, if they're your babies and you want to make sure that they're taken care of in the event of something happening to you, we have planning for that. We do planning for families that have children with special needs. That's another major area where kids are often left at risk. And in that type of situation, you don't want children with special needs to be inheriting assets without proper small businesses, so business owners, because I do have the business background. Many estate planning lawyers that prepare planning may not have that background, and so they don't necessarily account properly for your business and making sure that it's part of your plan, so that if something happens to you, that your business is taken care of and those assets and your business interests get transferred appropriately. So that's another area that we focus on. Going and filing an LLC, like most business owners do, or many business owners do, unfortunately, does not protect you from liability if you're not meeting the other corporate formalities, you know, by statute, and having an operating agreement and annual minutes and corporate resolutions, separate bank accounts, so you're not commingling your funds. You know, all of these things are very, very important to maintain the integrity of your legal entity, so that you keep that separate.
Happy too. That's the other part.
And you never know. You just never know. So you would never want someone to be able to attack your business and come after those assets, but then also go directly to you and your personal assets, your house, and you know, your bank accounts and your retirement accounts. You know, all of those can be at risk if you don't have things set up. But really, anyone between the ages of 18 and up. We have clients that are all over the spectrum. So we've got young clients, including, you know, my daughters who have their planning in place.
There you go. Okay. That's excellent.
Yeah, they have their estate plans because, you know, they're going off to college. And if anything were to happen to them, just because I'm their mother doesn't mean that I automatically can step in and make medical decisions for them or talk to their doctors. We have to have the legal planning in place. So anyone over 18, you know, you may not have assets, but being able to appoint agents, you know, healthcare agents, financial agents, what happens to your assets that you do have, like your social media, you know, that's important for young people, you know, who would take
It's like they're praying. I mean, they're now it's a big brand for us, you know, for themselves, all the social media and everything.
Your digital assets.
Yes, digital assets,
You know, your emails, all of those things are still considered assets, even though there may not be a monetary value placed on them. So,
is there a tip that you would share that could minimize some of the risk for some people that would want to start a business or currently have a business in place?
Yeah, sure. I would say tip number one is call me.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good plug. That's good sales. Good sales.
Because we have the ability to review that. We can do the planning session at no cost. There's some work that you have to do, and there are a lot of options so that you can come in, you can actually get everything reviewed, ask your questions, and really find out what your best course of action is after, you know, being counseled through that.
You've done an excellent job of building your brand. Do you have a team, or are you doing it yourself? Or?
I do. So I did start out doing a lot of it myself. My husband, as I mentioned, he's not an attorney. He's more of the creative one. So where I see the black and white, he sees the color. So he's the one that heads up the marketing and operations of the firm. So that's really, you know, that's his baby. We work together on it, of course. But yeah, I've definitely learned a lot. You know, running a business and that component of marketing, which is so important. I feel, you know, I know that a lot of attorneys and law firms don't really do marketing. It's one of the things that it kind of makes us unique. But so it's critical to our community, really, because that's how I get the information out. That's
how I came across you too, and you were featured in My Vegas, also the magazine.
Top 100 lawyers.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah. That was in February this year, correct? Okay.
Yeah, so for me it's important to be out there in the community, educating our community, because even having, the conversation that we were having with like the kids protection plan, you're like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about that. And that's why we do things, we hold events, we do events at our office, and we also do events around the city, trying to make it convenient for people to attend. We also do webinars once a month. And then for the other events that we host, we do like a wine tasting and a Wills and Trust workshop. So we call it Wine and Wills. And our next one in August is actually August 13th at 6 p.m. That one is at the Total Wine in Town Square. And then August 14th at 6 p.m. is at the Total Wine in Henderson. We've done other events in Centennial. So it's mainly been the Centennial, Total Wine, the Town Square, Summerlin.
We need to go to the one on the 13th. Jesus, you
scared
me.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
That's
those
really
are
good.
coming up, and I would love to have you. They're free events,
Yeah,
and they're fun. I actually, when you think about estate planning, people are like, oh, that doesn't sound fun to me.
It's scary.
I do try to make it fun also, and I try to convey the information in a way that's digestible.
Sure.
So I don't try to make it too complex, but give you the information so that you're aware of things, that you should be thinking about, the types of decisions that, you really should be making, and how you can protect your family, the next steps. So we do that educational piece. We do the wine tasting first. So that's usually about 30 minutes, and then we start this seminar at 6:30. That's usually about an hour. And then I try to leave time for questions.
Yeah, that's really good.
And then we do offer, for people that attend this seminar, we offer the opportunity to book an appointment with me.
Oh, good.
And I waive the normal fee for that. It's a 2-hour private meeting with me. We call it a family wealth planning session.
Sure.
So it's a good way to come and get information where it's not such an intimidating experience.
Sure, Especially when you go to the law office, you just get nervous and stuff. That's really cool. I see why you guys are successful. So
because people get to know me, they're able to be in a setting where they're comfortable.
True.
And then once they
come in, them too,
right?
That's good. What do you think is some of your biggest accomplishments?
One of my greatest accomplishments on the professional side would definitely be having our firm, the success that we've had in such a short period of time, and being able to do it, with my family.
And branding your name too, which is awesome.
Right. Question that you asked about our greatest accomplishments. So professionally, I answer that, and I would say on a personal level, it's really my kids.
That's good.
Raising 5 daughters, which I never thought, 20 years ago when we were just, young and dumb and having fun, I never thought that I would be the mom of 5 daughters. And I actually wanted a son. So you've got 2 boys, right?
So we do not need to get on this topic, because I know the wife is in the background, but she's going to tell me to ask you that. Were you guys trying for
Yes. So I wanted a boy. That was my thing. I wanted a boy from the beginning. I wanted my first to be a boy, and then they were 2 girls, and I was like, okay, twins, that's cool, that's a blessing. So, and my husband was fine. He was like, okay, well, we've got 2 girls.
I don't know how your husband does it. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how he does it.
Well, he actually is blessed, because the girls are, they're daddy's girls. They're very affectionate.
Sure.
As they get older, I'm sure that he's going to be well taken care of. Trust me.
Guys, I know you mentioned your website. Could you just reshout that out and the Instagrams and things?
So our website is younglawnv.com. The events that I mentioned earlier with the Wine and Wills, we have a website. It's ylgwine.com.
Perfect. That's the ones coming up on August 13th and August 14th.
Yes. Yep. Those 2. So you can always go to that website and see what the upcoming Wine and Wills events are. And then we also have another event in August, is August 28th, the Women Decision Makers Breakfast. So we had one in June. It was a success. We had like 50 women come to the office. We had a nice breakfast. I want to be able to empower women, being able to connect women in a way that we're able to support one another, whether we're business owners, professionals, stay-at-home moms, whatever it is that we do, being resources for one another. So and then social media. My personal social media is my Facebook is Shane Jasmine, and our Facebook business page is @YoungLawNV. So it's Young Law Group. And then Instagram, our business Instagram is at Young Law Group, and my personal is at Shane Jasmine.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us, man.
Definitely.
You look very inspiring.
Thank you.
Very inspiring and scary at the same time. Set those appointments up.
Yeah, definitely.
So we appreciate you hanging out with us, and
my
we'll have
pleasure.
you out at VegasCircle.com. So
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.